We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Alignment Podcast. Today, we have Alec Diaz, excuse me, here
There we
as
go.
our interviewee. And as always, I'm your gracious host, along with Suzette. Thank you guys for coming. We're about to have a good pod, and here we go. All right, now, Mr. Diaz. Again, I think I first met you. Is when I first met Matthew, if I remember correctly. I think it was at the pizza joint. And I remember
Yeah.
I always say you guys just huddle in a group, just looking at each other, just
Yeah.
not saying a
And
word.
just being awkward nerds, just like our own little sector.
Just
Thomas,
looking at each other. I was like, what is going on here? So I was like, okay, well, I mean, it is what it is. So I walked up and I tried to start a conversation with you guys. And I did. And from then on, it was like butter, We got together. I remember, we got together at FSU, had meetings talking about where we're going to be going forward as far as deficit is concerned. So before I even get into all that, let me take it back in time to talk about what inspired Alec to get in the film.
Oh man. That's a good one.
Yes,
indeed. I think part of the thing was, since I was young, I've always been into creation or just creating of any kind. Even when I was just a kid, just playing with toys or something like that, just trying to make my own little stories and my little action figures, all that stuff. But then as I grew older and was looking into all these different career industries, right? It just didn't speak to me the same way personally as film. Film just had so much flexibility in creation, at least in my head. There's just so many ways that you can make your mark on something, even if you don't just straight up create the story. Let's say the editing room, or just going behind the camera, or if someone's an actor, just the whole 9 yards. There's always something within film that a person creates and brings to the table.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so what age or what grade were you in when you made that decision that you said I'm going to go ahead and go into film?
See, here's the real funny thing, right? When I first came to FSU, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my goal, right?
Oh, okay.
And the thing was, when I first started college, I decided to take a class that was more for fun and everything like that. Because I'm like, I want to look into film. This was not the point where I decided to, pursue it and everything. I was just like, oh, let me do it and everything, right? And I remember going to FSU's little event before, college started, where everyone has their little stand, being like, hey, here's our different stuff, stuff for film school and all the different colleges. And that's actually where I met Matthew Maniac. I thought he was part of the film school, for a second. And
Matt was posing on y'all.
No, we were just both confused, but then we got talking, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing a film class this semester, and he's like, oh, I am too, and we both found out we were in the same exact class together, him and then two other friends we knew, and just other people we met in the film class. That film class, I believe it was film 2001. I could be completely wrong on the number, completely wrong. But that class was just honestly such a great time. Our great teacher, Brady. But either way, that's where I met Matthew Maniac. And once I was in with a group of people with the same type of love for film like I did, it's I felt like I had a good time. I felt like I was belonging. I was like, I think I'm gonna commit to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you write films, or do you like being more behind the scenes?
I would say for me personally, I prefer the writing process. That's what I prefer. However, I do enjoy the behind the scenes work too. It makes me get some exercise in. Having to carry all this equipment, but but no, honestly, I think I just preferred the writing process of creating a story. That's what I prefer.
Okay.
Interesting. So when you said that, so I guess it's safe to assume that you decided to go on the journey, which is film, is when you got to college.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, moving on to the contraption that was deathless. Now, when we were in the preliminary, we're kind of, in pre-production, trying to come up with a way for us to legitimately do this thing. When you saw the script, when you saw the goal, what we were doing, what was going through your head? Because again, you were behind the scenes.
I know.
What was going through your head when we're talking about, okay, we're going to do a 7-episode series on a budget of Rice Krispie treats, corn flakes, and tacos?
No, I would say, because like after seeing and hearing some of like the earlier forms of the script too, before what we decided to go with, it was one of those things of like, for me personally, I was impressed with what you were definitely trying to do with the story. And the thing is, it's just, to me, there are times where a story just does not always equate to the budget we have, know? And it's like a good lesson within film that sometimes you do have to write a little bit with what what we have, what we're able to achieve, at least for now. And that was the thing. I just remember there were certain things within Deathless when I was first reading it, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be really cool, or like some of the ways that it was written, and just like the type of world that was given, right? And then there was the reality of just what we have, money wise and stuff like that. Like, at the end of the day, we just don't have we didn't have the money for like, let's just say a production designer to come in, just decorate the entire set from head to toe, and like just things like that. But it was one of those things where I enjoyed the ambition so much that I want to be on the ride, ride or die type of way,
Mm-hmm. So. Yes, indeed. Now, what I want you to do is walk us through your experience with the making of Deathless. All right, listen, give it to us raw, uncut. Okay, I want your serious opinions and walk us through, your interpretation of what you saw during the making of Deathless. I want the people to hear it from Alec.
The pros and cons. Let's go.
I appreciate it. No, when going through Deathless, I would say, once we started to go into the production, there were just many different perspectives that I was hearing from, obviously from, Matthew Maniac, director, also doing camera and everything. Then there was also like the actors and everything, like, including you, Thomas, right? And then there was just, people behind the scenes, doing a bunch of work too. And I had the privilege of being executive PA. I got to be in charge of a bunch of
indeed
PAs, like personal assistants, essentially. Who like just contribute so much to a set. And it's basically like if there's something that needs to be done on sets, it's like I either have to contribute or I need other people to help me out and just get the ball rolling, just get everything working. So we would always have a group of people doing sound, a group of people doing lights. And just doing other things like getting stuff for the next scene ready, everything like that. Mm-hmm. So it was always moving. It was always moving. So whenever the PAs and the crew had like their stuff to do, the actors had to do their thing. They had to make sure that like make sure all the lines are correct. Making sure like they're in the mode to act. And then we have like Matthew's perspective, just make sure camera's ready, all of that. So. With all that going around, I would say personally, I really had a good time enjoying all the different perspectives that were coming at once and all the problems that would come from that, right?
Yeah.
Now one, problem just overtook everything, basically. Like everyone was involved. And the thing is, at least from my perspective, getting to know the people, and the actors, and like director, all that. That's kind of what made Deathless for me a lot of fun. It felt very tight knit.
One second, Alec. 1 second. Does anybody have the podcast playing in the background?
That's my people won't be quiet back there.
Okay. I was say I hear a feedback. That's what
I'm sorry.
Okay.
back there.
No problem. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alec. Let me interrupt. I just want to make sure that the quality's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. But it was just the more. It felt like a little bit of a family, just like making all these new friends too. Because at least from my experience, in that time of I think it was like my sophomore year, I believe.
That was your sophomore year?
Like when we fully started production?
Yeah.
So, like when we fully started.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be not.
I don't know. No, you might be right. I was just surprised.
Yeah, but either way, it was just talking with people like within my grade level who are also into film, and then also freshmen coming in who are just as ambitious as us. That was really fun, and just getting to know people, and then sometimes hanging out with them outside of set, and then not just that,
was always fun.
Yeah, but not just that inside set. Like whenever there would be like a little inside joke or whatever. Obviously, nothing that would like obscure the entire set at once.
Yeah,
but just like little fun things just to have fun. So it's not just a tight, serious set. Like there's like care and emotions in there. That makes any sense. But no, there were. It was just one of those things where each time Deathless would go on, we just have to make sure that we have enough people coming in. We just have to make sure we get all the pieces we can. And obviously there were troubles and issues and stuff like that.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, I know. But like, for example, like I would say some of the things would just be like, let's just say coordination, just making sure things work out. Like sometimes there would be issues with, let's just say Florida weather, right? Undefeated like always.
Always.
And sometimes that would have to like change stuff up in the set. Or for example, we expect to have, like a production day on this specific day, this specific time. And then right as we're in the middle of it, there's like a storm or something, right? And it's like, oh shit, what are we gonna do, right? We have to wait, or we have to find some other way to fill up time or something. Or like let's say for storm, it's like, okay, the actors are good, the director's good, right? But then the sound is dying in the corner because they have to deal with all this rain coming in the back. It's like, oh, what are we gonna do? So there were like troubles and issues like that. Like I think the thing is there would always be problems, and we would always eventually find a way to make it work. Like if we were not able to film something that day, then it's like we just have to move it some other time within the schedule. Someday that would work for everyone, or someday where we would have to have a skeleton crew. Stuff like that. So I would say sometimes coordination can be an issue. Sometimes you don't always have the people you need because like we had some really gracious people who were putting in a lot of time of theirs into this set, right? Not everyone just has availability 24/7 because at the end of the day,
indeed,
a lot of the crew members were just college kids who have their own issues going on.
Trying to party, have a good time, and entertain themselves.
Yeah,
I get it.
I would understand that. Like, there would be times when with executive PA, I would have to make sure like who's coming to set this day or not. And there would be times where someone would say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I just can't do this or whatever because this and that, right?" And I'm not gonna bust their ass for it, like because at the end, it's their time, right?
Yeah.
Now, hey, they could always be lying too. They could just be partying and shit. You never know. But no. But I trust that they really had important things going on, whether that be homework or just like important social things with friends, and just I don't know. And that was a thing where I think like with Deathless, it was just more. There was a lot of personal like value put into it. It's not just, hey, let's make a bunch of money doing this, right? It's like, we're coming together to just make a film, all that, and at the end of the day, it would look, it's great for our experience, right? And also, it'll just be good to just say we've done it, basically. You know, we got a show completed.
Yes, indeed, on Amazon Prime, baby.
I know, just like put the link right here, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it was honestly a really great time with how we did. There's just like a lot of personal, self going into it essentially.
Oh no, look, man. Listen. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You were pivotal, absolutely pivotal in the creation of this project. Okay, Alec doesn't get enough credit for what he put into this project. No, seriously. Okay, this is not just me, Captain. No, I'm serious. Like there are aspects about this project that would not have gotten done if it wasn't for you, brother. And I really, really appreciate that, my man. Again, Deathless would not be where it is right now without Alec Diaz. I want the world to know that, okay? That man was crucial in the development of this project, like real talk. And I really, really do appreciate the time that you spent and the time that you donated, that you're never going to get back to put together and be a part of this project and hopefully ongoing. With that said, how did you feel about your cameo?
About my cameo? Oh man, my special cameo. Oh man. Here's the thing. I don't like. Well, first off, really quick, I just want to say thank you for giving me that praise and appreciation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Don't thank me, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, but no, my cameo. Listen, the thing is, I don't like seeing myself on camera, right? I definitely have more of the attitude of the behind the scenes guy rather than the here I am, world, look at me. And so I remember here's one thing that was really great, right? I remember I think that specific day, I think we just had it was a really tough night the night before, and we had to shoot back to back, right?
Yeah.
I think we finished something late at night, and then we had to do something early in the morning, and the thing was, it's not like I had a lot of hours of sleep, right? And I was like, hey, I'm coming to this set. Okay, let's see. I'm not doing anything on Saturday anyways. let's just get this over with. So I get there, and I'm just in a daze. I'm tired. I'm being focused and getting my work done, but it's just I'm in a daze. And then it's oh, hey Alec, do you think you could be a cameo? For this scene? And then it's you know what? Fuck it. It's one of those things of maybe I'll regret this later. Who knows, right? So I do the scene, and then I'm holy shit, I'm gonna be in the show. I'm gonna make a cameo. And what was even better about that is I came to find out later that my cameo isn't the after credits of after Deathless overall, right? And so I'm the final shot of Deathless. I'm when it ends overall, I'm gonna give you the last thing you see, right? And I'm damn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I was saying when I had when I did a watch party with other people from the crew, and we were watching the show, right? And the thing is, people kind of forgot about my cameo, right? And the thing is, I was like, hey, look at the end, right? We got something low at the end, and they're oh, there's something at the end, right? We get to the end, after the credits, right? They see it, they see my face, and they're oh, look at you. And it was I was embarrassed, but I was glad, we had a good time with it. It was just really funny. That was the thing for a little bit, just a little bit of hey, I am the editor. I could just cut it really quick. Maybe no one will ever know.
No, we needed it.
Exactly. That's why I kept it. But yeah, so that was how I felt.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm gonna ask you, Alec, like I asked everybody. Favorite character, least favorite character. I gotta know everybody's answer to this.
Ooh. Wait, from Deathless and stuff?
From Deathless, your favorite character and your least favorite.
Ooh. That's tough. It's one of those things I never really thought of it.
Really?
No, I thought about it, but it's been so long. It's
right.
The messed up part is I've seen Deathless 4 or 5 times at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think for me, I think one of my favorites was Jake Parrish personally. You know, like
Okay.
Jake Parrish. Think about what was
Fang?
his,
Oh, the Fang.
Fang,
Okay.
yeah.
Fang.
You know that, yeah. The character Fang is the actor is Jake Parrish, right? But Fang, I just loved the energy he gave. You know, and that's something that I personally vibe with a lot. There was just like a lot of energy, and he just put so much into the role. And you know, hey, maybe I'm influenced by how nice of a person Jake Parrish was in person too. But no, but you know, but Fang really was a very charismatic character, and it's like,
Right.
you know, I just enjoyed watching his scenes because it just always felt like he took command of any scene he was involved with, you know, and even through editing, like, you know, I noticed that a lot of, you know, so it was one of those things. I think that was one very enjoyable thing where no matter how boring the scene could be, like it's like, oh, I need to pay attention. Like I want to see how Jake does, or you know, how Fang, you know, does as a character. So that was a lot of fun. Just at least from an acting perspective, I guess, and just like fun to watch. Least favorite character.
Yep.
That's
Who
the
did you hate?
who did I
Nobody's
hate? Who did I
feelings are gonna get hurt here. Say it.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, I think one of the characters I personally disliked the most was one of more of like Fang's more underlings, as I'll call them. They just weren't as, for me personally, that interesting and stuff.
Okay.
That's just my personal opinion. You know, like I can't really remember their names because like that's the thing. Like for minor characters, I'm just like kind of whatever, but I don't really care and stuff.
Gotcha.
You know, but I'll say, I guess, like just to go into it a little bit more. I think for me personally, one of my personal favorites was also like the character Chloe, right? That was one of my personal.
You like Chloe?
Oh my God!
Where is Bree?
No, here's I'm being honest. Because here's the thing, right? Yeah, obviously I talk with the crew and stuff like that, and I know there are people who don't like Chloe's character at all.
Oh,
I can't stand it. I hate it.
No, I'll be honest. I get it. She makes very radical decisions. Very, very radical decisions. You know, that like, you know, but the thing is, there was part of it, and I will be completely honest, and I said this to one of my assistant editors, right? I think part of the reason why I enjoy Chloe character is because since I'm editing, you know, these episodes, it's like I have to think of these character concepts more and more and more. If you know, I think the way I think about it, it's not like I just see one episode and that's all I get. It's like I see an episode multiple times, so I understand their motivation, and that's the thing. Because I will admit, there are times when, you know, like let's say in our group in a group screening, right? I remember one of the people was like, what the hell is Chloe doing? Why the hell is she doing this right now? And I think for me in my head, I know what she's doing, and I'm like, you know, I'll be real. I don't think it was translated well enough, you know, where it so I'll admit, I think that's my personal bias, and it is. I know it's a hot take. I just.
It is what it is. It is what it is, my man.
It is. If you like her,
yeah. Somebody listen. People like Joffrey. There are people that like Joffrey.
Oh, Joffrey's my favorite. Joffrey was my favorite. That boy was off the chain with his acting. He was amazing.
Yeah. So, moving on to the aspect of going into the post, and we were trying to get over that home run, man. We had the pre-productions, we filmed it. Now we're in post, and we're just getting started on that sprint, and we're sprinting towards the goal line. Now, with that being said, also want to give a shout out to Mia, who was outstanding. Okay, Mia was outstanding in the process, in the post-production process. She was vital to helping put this thing together as well. When it came to post-production, and you being one of the editors on the project and things like that, what were some of your thoughts and feelings when you would send a cut to me and Matthew, and we would send it back with a whole list of things that had to be corrected, replace and translate it.
One of the things that kills me is when you use the word sprint to talk about like the post-production process. That was a marathon, man. That was a marathon. There was like the thing is every time I would get an edit done, right? I'm like, all right, I can take a little bit of a break, right?
Yeah.
And then immediate email going, bah, 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 here are all your corrections. And I'm like, man, could you just wait like a week to look this over? But
yes, indeed.
So that was kind of fun too, because it's like whenever something's done, it's like, here you go, fix it back up, keep going, right? But I would say there were definitely times where I'm not gonna act like the post production was like easy and stuff like that. Yeah, there were many times there was many difficulties and many like ups and downs, and I think it's many conversations with different assistant editors and just trying to get things worked out and trying to have things figured out and figure out different problems. And it's one of those things where, at least from my perspective, like whenever I would get edits from you and Matthew, it's not like I take hard feelings, right? Within film, like whoever's over you or whatever you're doing for your clients or anything like that, like if they say we want some corrections and stuff, you kind of have to do your thing, unless it's something where it's like goes beyond, or if it goes like to the point of nitpicky or like something like that, then that's basically that. But the thing was, from my perspective, I knew at the end it's you and Matthew's vision, right? Or like how you want post-production to go. So for me personally, I didn't see it as like, let me just change up this entire show from like in terms of editing. It was like, okay, if you want this, cool, and we just keep going. And then not only that, it's just, I guess, more fixing corrections. And this is why I say there's no hard feelings. At the end, they're mistakes. And I think it's better for you or Matthew to catch them than just a random, viewer. At least that's my perspective. And you can always say like, oh, no one's gonna notice that. That's fair, but then there's, you're not supposed to really think like that as an editor. You're just trying to do the best you can with the time you have, and
Okay, interesting. I think the world wants to know, Alec. I think you deserve it. I think the world deserves to know, actually.
Yeah.
What is life like for Alec post-Deathless?
Yes.
The world wants to know, huh? No, I would say honestly, post-Deathless has always been an interesting experience, right? Because, this is why I said earlier how Deathless to me felt like a tight-knit family, right?
Yeah.
I think with most of the people on Deathless, I talk with them all the time, either through group chats or individual messages or just random things here and there, or sometimes meeting up. So it's always fun to like have those crew members and people and still be able to talk like, hey, I'm still able to talk with both of you and all that stuff, and that to me is awesome. So there's that, and then obviously like in terms of outside of just in terms of production, right? Obviously, I just get myself involved with either different films and stuff, get to meet other filmmakers, and I think like one of my biggest achievements is graduating college, graduating from FSU, right? I think that's my personal biggest achievement right now. And the thing is, now I'm like, I would say for me personally, I'm just trying to work on my storytelling, just working on that. And right now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work on like some new skills I've always wanted to work on. Like for example, work on 3D animation and modeling, right? That's
nice.
I've always wanted to do. So I finally have that time to do it and everything. So, that's basically been me, just kind of working and grinding and just hey, we'll get there eventually.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad. I am very glad to hear that you're still, grinding and pushing after Deathless. Man, I like to hear that from all our colleagues that worked on the project, that they're still doing their thing and aspiring to get their dreams and their goals. Let's roll down the road of.
Hold on, just quick question.
Go ahead.
You said
Yeah.
that you were working on your storytelling. Do you have any specific works you are working on now? Short films, movies, or
Mhm.
a TV series or anything?
So I would say, hey, I wish I would have a TV series, man. Just I love it. But I would say, as of now, in terms of anything, like let's just say, in terms of like movie, TV show, or anything like that, there's nothing in the works production wise. Nothing to
Okay.
that extent. Everything. I think just the stories I personally write is more for just like I guess more as a learning tool rather than hey world, I need everyone to look at this type of thing.
Right.
It's like I write these stories is more like, hey, let's get into it, habit, let's just do this, have some people look it over, see what they think and everything. At least that's just the way I've seen it as of now. And hey, as time progresses, and then maybe my work will expand outward, basically. And maybe there would be something that gets into a production one day. As of now, there's nothing like that. Would it be amazing to have that happen today? Yeah, of course. But I need to make sure I keep learning and improving my skills up to that, at least.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, going towards the Hollywood aspect, let me ask you first. There's two questions to this. The first part I want to start out with: is there a film or a movie that you absolutely despise and hate with every fiber of your existence? And after you answer that one, I want to know, what is your favorite movie that has ever been forged by the hands of man?
Oh man, those are some great questions.
Keep it a stat.
I would say with the despised one, the thing is, I've always been a guy who's always been like optimistic about movies, right?
Yeah.
The most I've usually despised is to the point of I don't care type of way. That's usually where I've gone. Right?
So you've never watched a
But
movie?
then I saw a movie recently,
Okay.
like last October.
Okay.
And it was the movie. Hey, I know there are people that love it. It's a very small type of film. It's called Rubber. It's called Rubber. It's basically a movie where it's a killer tire, a tire that kills people, right? Here's the thing.
I've heard of it. Never saw it. I heard of it.
No. Listen. Me and one of my best friends from high school, it was like 9th grade. We saw like a trailer for it or whatever, and we're like, this is the dumbest thing on the planet. We need to see it. We need to make fun of it, all that stuff, right? And we were like, we were just thinking of all the imaginative ways that a tire could kill someone. And then we put it off. And me and my friend, we were still best friends, right? And it just kept going and going. And then last year in October and all that stuff, we're like, let's watch something like a horror-esque type movie that kills, right? Or at least just a killing machine. But we're like, we don't want anything hardcore, just a fun, good time, like a B movie, right? And we're like, okay, you know what? Let's go with Rubber and stuff, right? We get to finally watch it after all this time, right? We can try to make a drinking game out of it, all that, whatever. But then we start the movie, right? And we end up finding out that this movie's kind of like a meta commentary type of thing. It was just a creative choice I personally didn't like, where the director, he decided to break the fourth wall and say, this is a movie and everything is useless type of way. It made me feel very down. And then you realize how low budget it really was, where all the kills were kind of like cheap in a way. It's not like, a tire comes in and just pops someone's head off and it's like, holy shit, that's cool. Like no cool kills. That's my issue. There were no cool kills of any kind. I'm just saying,
waste of time.
The worst of Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street and all these other horror franchises, they still have some cool kills at least. With Rubber, it wasn't it. Like it really, it made everything feel useless. They would break the fourth wall, like not even in a funny Deadpool way, but in a like, why are you taking me out of the movie? And it just ended up being so boring. And it's like our possible drinking game just turned into us just like looking like this at the video, at the movie, and just being like, oh my god, I can't wait for this to end.
So what you're saying is, if you had the ability, like if you had the Infinity Gauntlet, okay, on your hand, you would basically warp reality around that film and everybody that had something to do with it, ball them up, and basically rip them from reality, dispensing of them, never be to be conceived thoughts of ever again.
See, that's a little bit of an extreme, but yes, here's something that killed me, right? I remember seeing that movie, and this was at a time where I was actually in Tallahassee, and I saw this, right?
Yeah.
And it was during the pandemic, but I was like in a position where I was like sleeping over at different friends' place, visiting FSU people. And so I remember leaving one of my friends' house, and just seeing that film. I'm like, oh my god, I need to talk to someone about it. I go to the next place. I'm like, hey man, you seen Rubber and stuff? And he's like, oh, that movie? That's a great movie, right? Kill people, It's like I hate it, but I personally am not a fan of it, and it is honestly one of the only films I can really despise. I will say part of it, I think it is my fault a little bit. I did hype it up so much in my head, and it just really didn't pan out to me.
Okay. What would you say is your favorite movie that has ever been forged by the hands of man? Like, this movie right here speaks to me.
The thing is, I've always been asked that question of like, what's your favorite movie of all time type of thing. And for me, I basically got it down packed. And because the way I interpret that question, it's not really like, it's not just the idea of, what's the best film created, what's the best storytelling, what's the best technical aspect of film.
Yeah.
Whenever someone asks you that question, what's your favorite film, there's something personal about it. At least my personal.
Yeah.
So for me, my personal favorite movie of all time, the one that I hope will never get deleted in the history of man, is the movie Toy Story.
The original. Wait. The original, or the second one, or the third one? Is there a fourth?
There is a fourth.
Okay.
There's a fourth.
So which one are you talking about as your favorite? Are you talking about the entire franchise?
Well, I love the franchise overall, but when choosing movies of all time, I'm gonna say the first one, at least from my perspective.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the reason why I consider it my favorite of all time is because I remember like when I was young, and remember I told you that like part of me always loving to create stuff. It also started with me playing with my toys when I was a kid, right? So for me being a kid and having the idea that your toys can come to life, right, was just such a cool and imaginative thing for me, right? I remember after seeing that movie, I would always act like my toys are alive type of thing, like just always being nice to them, all that stuff, right? And so there's always that childhood aspect, right? And there's always that nostalgia. But then as I grew older, and even today, I've appreciated it even more from the actual behind the scenes aspect of it. This was one of the first major 3D animated works, and it's Pixar's first animated film. And I personally love Pixar. I adore them. And as someone for me that wants to be a great 3D animator or modeler one day, right? It's just one of those things. Like for me personally, I can't do that without acknowledging Toy Story, at least in my opinion, because there were just so many things that movie did that paved the way for just all these other animated movies and stuff, and just hearing the struggles of that film and everything like that. So, and then at the end of the day, it's a fun movie. I have a good time every time I see it. It's like I love the story, I love the characters. So
the original is a huge hit among fans. They love the original. Let me push this in a slightly different direction. What movie do you think that you've ever seen? Let me ask this: have you ever seen a movie that caused you to that invoked such an emotion in you that you began to cry?
Oh,
and what movie was that?
See, at least for me, here's the problem with me. That's happened a lot of times actually. Here's the thing. Okay. The thing is, I thought it was kind of like a me thing, and it kind of is. But I know there would be a friend that would cry movies like too, and I'm like, you do that too? He's like, yeah, man.
Well, give us an example. Name
Yeah.
one that you thought was I guess one that touched you the most. What movie would that be?
I would say that, obviously there are a couple, but I would say one of the ones I will mention at least right now, it was like at least a newer one, like, let's just say Pixar's Coco, the ending of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
You got the feel, Sue? You got the feel?
I had a feel that had me in tears that remember me before she passed away. I was like, y'all didn't have to do that one.
No,
I can send y'all a YouTube video right now that would probably be more let's say sentimental than was it Momo? What's it called?
Coco.
I'm sorry. I've never seen it. So,
okay,
forgive
yeah.
me. It's a video on YouTube about a robot whose grandma dies. It's the most tragic thing that I have ever seen in my life. Okay, it was horrible. No, I'm seriously like for example, the robot. Let me give you a quick synopsis. The robot, it's sad as shit. Listen, just hear me out. The story goes where the mother was expecting to see her child, her son, but he said, "I'm sorry, I can't make it this year." So she was very sad, but he sent her a gift. So the gift was this little robot, and she put batteries in the robot's back, and it went around doing little chores and things like that, helping grandma around the house. Right? One day, while they were at the table eating, things started getting dark for a little robot, and all of a sudden it shut down. Batteries died. So what grandma did, like when mother would do, she got batteries, took the old ones out, put the new batteries in his back. Okay, came back on. He was happy. So one day he was watching TV. The circus was coming into town, and he wanted to go to the circus with grandma. Right? So one day, she and grandma would come back and bring him like motor oil and all kind of stuff. Just great things to do for your little robot companion. Yeah. So one day he said, "I want to go to the circus." So the grandma was like, "Okay." So one day she came home, she prized him. She said, "I got tickets to the circus." So she said, "Go get my hat." She was sitting in the rocking chair outside. She said, "Go get my hat, and I will take it to the circus." He ran, grabbed the hat. When he came back outside, grandma was dead as shit. Okay, out gone. And the little robot was like, trying to think, because it didn't, comprehend. Trying to think like, "Yo, grandma, why? Grandma, what's going on? Grandma, what's going on?" So, he ran. He said, "Oh, I got it." So he ran into the house, grabbed 2 batteries and put it in her little pocket sleeve. Okay, it was the cutest shit I've ever seen in my life. And put it in there and tried to shake her to get up. She wouldn't go anywhere. Okay, so she sat there, right? And the little robot then decided, he continued to do his chores around the house, keeping up the garden because grandma liked the garden and things like that. And then one day, as he's been dirty, hasn't been getting cleaned by grandma, he's a little dirty, he's been working around the house, trying to keep things going. He was sitting outside on the porch and just kind of rocking, and all of a sudden it started getting dark again. And then his eyes closed and opened, and his eyes closed for good because his battery died. And when he opened up his eyes, grandma was standing right in front of him. And he had the little tickets. It was the most cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm telling you, it was beautiful, son. It was beautiful. Okay.
No, it sounds tragic. It does sound.
Yeah, it was fucking. And here's the thing: as quiet as it's kept, I want to know what he did with the body, because the son, and it's fucked up because the son he never showed up. And again, maybe he showed up to get the box. I don't know. It just kind of left us there. But I would say a film that I felt moved me in such a way, not from a emotional, like in a sad emotional standpoint, but just that I was just perplexed, but I enjoyed it. The movie Ticks. I don't know if anybody's familiar. It's a classic. The movie is, I think, from the 80s. It has Seth Green in it. Seth Green is a child in the film. Also, have you ever watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? What's Will Smith's friend name? Carlton. He's in it as well. And he plays what he would consider a bad boy instead of the preppy kid. Now,
I can't imagine that.
Which was very fascinating, okay, about this movie was that there was these ticks that were somehow getting into this lab, and some type of chemical was causing them to grow radically. So the ticks will latch on to you, sometimes dig into your flesh and start eating you from the inside out. The climax of this whole entire film was spoiler alert, okay, guys? You might want to shut it off here and then come back in about 2 minutes. Okay, now we're going to shut down. Anyways, what I thought they did to Carlton was tragic. Carlton somehow ends up getting a tick in him, and it grows so big that his body starts to shred as a giant tick submerges out of him and literally tears his body asunder and just starts rampaging the entire and terrorizing all the kids that were on that camping trip for school. Now, once all the smoke cleared and they escaped that gruesome experience, the only thing I can think about is, what are you going to tell Carlton's parents? Like, after this is all said and done, what are you going to tell his parents?
Lord.
When their son doesn't show up.
No. One of my favorite parts of the entire explanation, right, was just like looking over, seeing Suzette going like, and it just getting worse and worse. I just love the way you emphasize it, Thomas. You know, for example, like earlier when I was like the robot stuff, it's like dead as shit, like you know, like so much enthusiasm. Like it sounds like you're excited, like yeah.
No, it was tragic.
No, I agree. It sounds completely.
It's just how you emphasize it. It makes it more hilarious than it is sad.
Okay. My apologies. Because I mean, that's just kind of how I express how I feel about it. For example, some of the saddest movies that I've seen, besides the YouTube short, are two of them. Two of them struck a chord in me. One is My Girl. When they murdered Macaulay Culkin that way, when they murdered him, okay? They murdered that man, okay? With fucking bees, killer bees, okay? And the girl couldn't do anything about it. And when she went to that funeral, it broke me. When she went to that funeral, it broke me, okay? Yeah. People said, oh, what about The Lion King movie? I said, nah, fuck that. When Macaulay Culkin died in My Girl, it was tragic, okay? Yeah. And the other movie that hurt me so is, I don't know if y'all remember a movie called Dragonheart. Well, that goddamn dragon died, and he got launched into the sky, and people were looking up, and they're like, you know, that's Phil's boy. Oh no, that was her.
You're in the wrong movie.
My bad. I mean, but anyways, the dragon was he died, and he explodes into fairy dust, and then he's like torpedoed into the atmosphere, and he's looking down on him, and people are like, you know, looking around, don't know whether to cry or scream. It like, bruh, that tear. It would remind me of the Dave Chappelle skit where he talked about Indians and he tested the Indians, where he didn't believe that there were Indians, so he balled up some paper and threw it on the ground, and a single tear came out of the eye. That's how it felt when I watched Dragonheart, and he died.
Yeah.
I think for me, that would two movies that did that for me. That was The Never Ending Story, when the horse was going down into the water. Artex, yeah, that hurt my soul.
Look, Artex was done. Artex had enough.
Artex went down like a G, but it was sad. It was just horrible.
Yes, Artex. That scene was sad. But here's the thing. I agree with you, Suzette. It was sad, but I was also happy for him. Because he didn't... Artex wanted to go. He was done.
Artex was done with all the foolishness?
Yes. He was done with the whole deal. So there was a part of me that was satisfied, and I was happy for him. I was happy for his demise because he got to choose. He chose that, okay? Most people don't get to choose how they go out. Artex got to choose. This is how I want to go out. This is how I want to meet my deletion, okay? He chose that, okay? And that salute to Artex, because that's a real one. That's a real one. But go ahead, too. I didn't mean to cut you. I'm sorry.
The second movie, I don't know if you guys watch RoboCop.
Yeah, when they shot him to pieces.
When Bertha went down, the black lady, she got killed. Remember the black lady, Bertha and the RoboCop? I think it was the first RoboCop movie.
Bertha. The black lady how did she get killed?
I think she got gunned down, and then I cried, and I never watched it again. I was done. I will not watch it again. It hurt my girl, and I hurt my soul.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about this, Suzette. When you say that you know Bertha got gunned down,
annihilated in your words.
Yeah, deleted.
She was annihilated.
RoboCop style.
What were your thoughts about Selena when she got killed by a fan club president and she wakes up and she's singing and dancing on stage now that she's dead? What were your thoughts about the death of Selena?
Your girl ain't watched the movie after I saw that again. After that, I was mad too. I was like, that heifer
got killed by a fan club president. Yeah, that's like one of the worst ways to go.
Smile with that. I was like, somebody should go and do that to her.
And she started singing that song.
Once a movie pisses me off or the people I like die, I don't watch it again.
Well, really? Well,
ruined my trust, like never again.
It hurt my
Understandable. I mean, look, like my brother's my brother Alec, his sister watched Selena for the first time, and when she got blown away, wasn't there a scene where she was on the hospital bed and she was like bleeding out and her ring fell off, and that's when you knew she was dead? And,
I think so.
And then when she wakes up, she's on stage, she starts singing. My brother's sister started hollering and screaming like somebody was murdering her. She couldn't believe they killed Selena. Okay, it was the saddest situation. She was boo-hooing. And I didn't understand. I said, you know it's a movie. I mean, look, you can feel bad, you can cry, but
it was real life, though.
It's not that deep.
It's real life.
She got killed by the fan club president. I said,
because she's a thief.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thomas, it was RoboCop 3 with Bertha in it. It was the third RoboCop.
And they blew her. I have to rewatch it because I know it's been a while.
Can you see who that lady, her character?
Okay. Is she still alive? That looked like Angela Davis a little bit from a distance.
DCH Pounder.
Oh, okay.
She got killed and I refused to watch it after that. I ain't watched none of the trilogy after that.
Got you.
I refused.
Okay. Alec, thoughts? Your perspective. I mean, you said Toy Story. And what part exactly of Toy Story was it that made you sentimental and want to cry? Was it the part where the little boy was ripping the dolls apart? What part was it that you felt overly emotional about?
I think I'm trying to think about it, right? I'm trying to see if I've cried really hard for the first Toy Story. I can't fully remember. If I did cry in the first Toy Story, at least from my belief, it was more just at the end of happiness of everyone's back together type of thing. Just
happy tears. Okay.
Yeah. But for me, for example, let's just say Toy Story 3, the end of Toy Story 3 destroyed me. And it's shit. I grew up with that, and then I saw it. I was like, wow, that's fucked up. I was about to go to college. I'm like, this is some fucked up shit right here.
Yeah.
Third one's when he goes to college and third one's okay.
Yeah.
Watch it forever.
Okay. And I understand what Pixar, because you mentioned Pixar. You mentioned how you love Pixar and you think they make amazing movies, and they do. But they've been hit or miss for me. And the last great Pixar movie that I saw had to be Incredibles. I really didn't care for Incredibles 2 like that. After all those years, I was underwhelmed. But the original Incredibles was incredible to me. With that being said, the new movie Soul, about the brother who perished, I think they wanted to invoke some type of heartstrings by killing a black man on the big screen. So seriously, they murdered this man and then have him running around half the movie inside of the cat. Now people thought that was amusing. I felt the same way I did about Princess and the Frog when I thought I was going to go see a movie about a black princess, and half of the movie, or more than half of the movie, she's running around as an effing frog. So I mean, it just I was deeply disappointed by some of the directions they went with trying to tell that story, and then they had the situation where the it ghost, because it was genderless, it just you don't know what it was. It was just some kind of thing that existed and was conscious in some capacity. And you had that situation where it was adverse to, I guess, evolving and taking a life or whatever, or going into the great, it looked like they were being sent to some type of shadow realm, but as they were being, but the thing about it was, I felt, and maybe it's just me, I actually felt rage build well up within me when she didn't want to give his body back. And I said, that's one more thing they've taken from the black man. He can't even in a Disney movie, they try to take this man away from himself. So again, these are the things that bother me, okay, about some of the things that they decide that they want to impose and show to the world. That's why, Soul didn't do it for me. People disagree. People think Soul was great. That's my thoughts about Soul and why I felt like it was a travesty. With that being said, again, Pixar does do great films.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, right? Because I'll give my honest opinion, right? For
Keep it stacked.
Yeah, for the past couple of Pixar movies, right? I've been really excited, oh, I want to see this, I want to see it, right? And I believe I've seen every single Pixar movie the last couple of years, right? And the thing is, I agree with you. Some have been really hit or miss, Like, for example, there was a movie like Onward where it had Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, right? I love Tom Holland. I think Chris Pratt is fun and stuff. I love seeing that combo. It's this is gonna be cool, right? And movie just was kind of underwhelming and stuff for me, and it was nice. I had a good time, all that, and then with Soul, and I'll give my honest opinion. I was really hyped for Soul. It looks as fuck,
But can you tell me? Wait. When you say you were hyped for Soul, keep it a stack, Alex. Alec, what made you hype for Soul? Okay, keep it stack. I want you to lay this out for me.
So
I saw a black man being tortured the entire movie. That's what I saw.
Yeah,
that's what I saw when I saw the advertisement for Soul. I said they're torturing us in the streets and in cinema. But go ahead.
So I would say for me personally, what I was really hyped about was, it was just beautifully animated. It was wow, it just screams beauty. It's, set in New York, right? Seeing all these character designs as this is so cool. And from the trailer, at least, from the first trailer, they gave this amazing music, and it just got me excited. It felt like this was gonna be emotional, and the story had to do with death, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I'm it's gonna make me cry. Easy, you give me an easy topic, right? And with Pixar and their reputation, I'm oh, they're gonna do something at the end, and it's gonna destroy me, right? And the thing is, I saw the entire movie, right? And there were moments I'm that's good. I enjoyed that emotion and stuff like that, but I actually did not cry at the end of it. I was I enjoyed it, and honestly, it just wasn't it for me. And there were times where, with Pixar movies, I'm I want to show a friend a specific movie. I personally did that with the new movie Luca, right? That one, I'm I need to show someone. That was a lot of fun for me. It was really good, emotional. With Soul, though, it felt like there were times where that dynamic between the two main characters of, I believe, the spirit played by Tina Fey, I believe that's 21. I believe that's the name. And then we have our main character, and it just wasn't it at times. There were times where the concept they were going at was just so abstract. It was hard to be fully relatable. I want to see more of this man's life. Honestly,
listen. He was being terrorized the whole movie. It was about terrorizing a black man in life and in death.
Hey, I'm not going to argue your interpretation.
Am I lying? He was terrorized in life.
I gotta watch it to see Thomas's interpretation to this movie.
He was terrorized in life. He was terrorized in death. So that's all I got out of it. But
and the thing is, I felt bad for the main character, because that point of the movie where they go onto Earth and stuff, 21 being in the main character's body and stuff, it was interesting, but it just didn't feel right. Part of it was kind of cool. It's oh my God, she's experiencing life for the first time. and you're trying to relate to that, right? That part's kind of cool. But then there are points where it just, I don't know, it just felt too general at times. It didn't feel specific enough. Like it was very hard to relate to it. And the thing is, like, it felt like, I believe his name is Joe, by the way, I think the main character. And Joe he was just like a side character within his own story, you know?
Yeah. Well, let me move on really quickly because I'm running out of time really quickly, but I want to ask you something. Have you seen The Matrix, the trilogy?
I have.
Are you excited about Matrix 4?
See, I'll be honest. When I heard about Matrix 4, obviously that sounds really cool, right? But I'm like, how the fuck are they going to do it? I saw the end of the third movie. To me, it felt good enough. Like, how do you do it? Then the trailer came out, and I'm like, all right, finally, my answers are going to be answered. What the hell just happened? Like, what am I looking at? I feel like I have so many questions after seeing that trailer, you know? And then I did my usual nerd stuff. I found people who knew better than me and theorized it on YouTube. And just from that gets me excited, you know, from like the ideas of what it could be. And, you know, that in itself makes me excited. Part of me wasn't excited because it was like, it should be, you know, there shouldn't be another Matrix. It felt good enough. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do. That's basically that.
Let me ask you something. Do you agree or disagree that The Matrix is one of the most underrated romances in film?
Really? That's such an interesting perspective. I've never.
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great.
Really?
I mean, when I look at romances, because again, I told you one of the things that I want to do, besides make a film so great that the brain is not able to process the type of emotion that it wants to give, so you end up floating your bowels with screaming. That's one film that, besides that, I want to create a film. I want to create an epic romance. People think I just want to make movies about action and craziness. No, I want to make a movie that has an epic romance, like a movie so great that it is like passed down through the hands of time as a legend. Okay, that's what I want to do. Yeah. So I mean, that's my perspective. So your thoughts about the romance, the relationship between Neo and Trinity? Do you think it's overrated, underrated? You didn't care? What are your thoughts?
I think. See, the thing is, it's one of those things. When I think about it, I think I enjoyed it personally. Like, you know, it was one of those things. It's not like I see it and it's like, oh, this is garbage, right? You know, there are definitely some movies where I'm like, okay, the romance is completely garbage, right? But in this, I was like, perfectly fine. I can see it. Do I think it's overrated? I will say I don't think it's overrated because I've never heard someone talk it up so high. So I guess more. Well, see, the thing is, I think it's more, but I will give you some credit. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, and my focus at the time.
You need to watch it too, Sue. And by the way, Sue, let me ask you a question. What would you say is your favorite romantic movie? I mean, not besides Beauty and the Beast. What is your favorite romantic movie?
What?
Just called you out right then.
Besides, well, I'm really not into romance movies, but I guess
if you had to choose one,
to say it would probably just have to be Dirty Dancing because that's the only romance I could really think of because I really just don't like that genre too much.
Well, Dirty Dancing was interesting to me, but since she wasn't twerking, I just, it didn't do it for me. But I understand why, people enjoy that movie. I personally enjoyed the dancing in Grease more. I was entertained more in Grease. I thought that the ladies were more had more rhythm, in my opinion. In what they were doing. With that being said, there's a lot of things that are going on in the film community right now. Alec, I know you've been probably hearing some of the turmoil and things like that with Hollywood and losing money. There are people that are execs that are screaming, that are having a hard time processing why aren't these films doing well. But what was a very big surprise was how well the new 007 did. The numbers haven't come back from the new Venom movie that I know you've seen, but allegedly the 007 film has done an amazing job. And this is one of the movies that you know, are kind of hardcore actiony, you know, and you know, I didn't realize it appealed to so many people, or maybe people were just hungering for that. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on why you think people are, you know, gunning to see movies, I guess, that are like 007?
I would say, just my personal opinion, I think action and that genre is one of the biggest things for film. Like that's just my honest opinion. I think action reigns supreme over almost anything because I just think that's one thing that people just it gives that gravitas feeling of like I need to go see this. I need to see this on a big screen, all that stuff. And now relating to what you said with like the Matrix and stuff, one of the things I like will always stand out with me with the Matrix is the action. And with Matrix 4 coming out, I hear people talk about, I can't wait to see the action. I can't wait to see it, right? And then with other films, right? Like whenever I hear about Mission Impossible, how much money they always make, it's always about the action. What's Tom Cruise going to do next, right? And 007 is just action all around. And even with the new Venom movie, I believe it's doing well box office wise. And with that one, it has a lot of action in it. Superhero movies have action. Shang-Chi, action, fighting, you know?
Say Fast and the Furious movies, action.
Yeah. Like you know, and again, when you say action, I personally feel like Fast and the Furious is mindless action. I feel like people are easily entertained about people hollering and screaming and things exploding and people stressed out to the point to where they're probably going to start contemplating their own deaths. People like that kind of stuff when it comes to movies. And I want to ask both of you, when it comes to your thoughts on what movie do you think you identify with the character the most? What would that be? What I mean by that, like, what movie do you feel like you identify with the most? I'll go first really quickly. I identify with House and his philosophies, which is why I enjoy House so much. So when it comes to what movie, a film, or show that I identify with the most, I would say House. So you guys can go out. Well, the character of House, I believe in his philosophy. Mm-hmm. And actually, if I want to go into an anime range, Madara Uchiha, I agree with his philosophies as well. I identify to his belief system. Go ahead, Alec.
See, now here's the fun thing, right? So is anime allowed on this conversation?
Sure. It's media, entertainment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sue.
I feel like anime for me, because the thing is, like, one of the greatest things about anime, in my perspective, is how they accentuate action so hard. Like for example, in a live action movie and stuff, you're gonna see a lot of cool action stuff, but it's limited by real people, and you just see what's happening. But now I know some people make fun of it, but I love it. I love it when, like, let's just say an anime character does something and they're thinking, like, while they're doing an action, it just makes you appreciate the little things they do action wise. Like the difference between holding a sword like this or like that, makes a big difference.
Well, let me reel you in really quickly. Again, what movie and a character in a movie do you identify with? Do you, when you watch that film, you kind of see yourself and you're like, I identify with this character. That is me. That is my philosophy. What movie or character do you identify with when you watch? Give me an example.
See, at least in terms of movie and just these characters I'm always down with. At least there are two characters I think about, right? Okay. One is Spider-Man, and personally for me, it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, right?
Okay.
And then
Peter Parker.
A different one, and Peter Parker,
So you see yourself when you talk about Peter Parker, the trials and tribulation that Peter Parker goes through, you relate to as a person, as Alec Diaz. I relate to these things that go, and with that, would it be fair for me to say, when it comes, because Peter Parker had issues with holding down a job. He had romance issues as well. Okay, he couldn't get it right. With romance. So those attributes that you relate to as Alec Diaz.
Yeah. Now I don't want to go too far ahead.
No. That's brilliant. That's great. What's the second one?
Yeah. Well, I would say like the second one is like Rocky Balboa from Rocky.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that slightly contrasting? Because, well, Rocky Balboa had to overcome. He was being terrorized by a black guy in one of his films. And he was terrorized by a white person in one of his films. So, I mean, I understand. I mean, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I
terrorized by a black person or a white person. I don't think he's terrorized.
I love it. Go for it.
I mean, I'm just keeping it in the stack. But okay, let me ask you this, Alec. What is it about Rocky Balboa that you identify with?
It's honestly, just that hard work, never give up mentality and stuff. And I'll say that's part of the thing with Spider-Man also that I like. Peter goes through the most impossible things a teenager, technically a teenager, can ever freaking do. But he just always, with great power comes great responsibility, all that, and just like always trying to overcome no matter what bullshit comes in his way, and same with Rocky. Like, him training gets me hyped. When I saw Rocky, I literally exercised while watching it. That's just how
has that effect. Yeah. Would it be fair to make the analysis that Rocky, by the end of Rocky Balboa's career into the Creed movies, he came to the understanding that his existence would be considered futile, because of the fact that he realized he is not in complete control over his environment or the people within his environment. If you remember the Creed movies, he was in a dark place, and he never came out and said that he thought about self-deletion. But there were times within his rhetoric that I thought that was in his mind. So I mean, powerful stuff. I thought those are really good. Those are really good. Suzette, what about you?
I think, honestly, it had to be Brenda from Scary Movies. Me and her philosophy, 100%. Especially when rolling with you, Thomas, and you got me in these creepy places. I'm like, black people ain't supposed to be over here, Thomas. We're not supposed to be doing this.
Fair enough. And you know what? I can definitely see that. But let me push you a little bit on the Brenda character, because now would it be fair to suggest that Brenda was dealing with some type of psychological issues herself? Because Brenda, the way she dealt and she maneuvered in the environment that was Scary Movie made me question her conscientiousness,
her sanity,
her thoughts on reality. It really did make me think that maybe she had succumbed and had a mental break at some capacity, that she was just kind of okay with the type of debauchery that was taking place. Because
I mean, she was murdered in almost every movie.
Absolutely. She kept coming back. She kept dealing with the same people.
So
the same people.
You don't go lose your mind after that. She get killed nonstop.
No, I just wanted to add really quick. It's like, I love how, with how you two, basically talked about it. It's like, man, I feel like you guys gave more critical analysis of Scary Movie than I've heard anyone on YouTube ever. And I love it. I really love it.
We try. Yeah. We try. I mean, again, these are things that I think about when we're watching film. We're having, and I ponder on some of these things, because I think a lot of these things people miss. Again, going back to the terrorizing of the Black Man of Soul. People think it's a charming, loving film. And I said, again, all I see is a black man being terrorized in life and in death. That's all I see. So with that being said, Alec, it was an absolute pleasure for you to come on.
Real quick question for Alec. Real quick question. With you being a creative, how do you feel about the non-originality of Hollywood? With everything being, remade,
recycling everything,
recycled, and movies from the 70s getting made now as if we care. How do you feel about that?
See, I will say it kind of depends a little bit. It really depends on the circumstances. Not every reboot or remake is exactly the same thing. There are some movies that they're remade. Like, for example, if someone like the original Scarface of Al Pacino, right? That was a remake, right? That was a remake of something like, I believe, in the 50s and stuff. If someone's like, man, that shouldn't have been remade, total BS. That original movie was not it, okay? But there are some that it's like such a classic, and they try to remake it, and it's like I kind of don't know why you're doing it, but obviously we know why you're doing it because of money.
Well, the example that you gave about the Scarface movie, could I make the same argument for Meteor Man? Meteor Man never got a remake, but a lot of people felt like, Meteor Man didn't get his just due. Would you support a remake of Meteor Man?
Mm-hmm. I would support it. And also one thing I want to add is, context means everything, right? For example, there are people I know that are pissed off with Spider-Man getting rebooted 3 times essentially.
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, I know.
I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm sick of seeing Aunt May die. I'm sick of seeing his Uncle Ben die. I'm sick of it. Okay, they died enough. Okay, it is what it is. Let them rest in peace.
The thing is, what I personally, the reason why I'm like, let's just say with this remake, I support the MCU remake over the Andrew Garfield remake any day of the week because it's given this new context of the MCU where he's surrounded by these characters that he can interact and will give him like unique Spider-Man stories that we'll never, we can never hear about stuff. And also just the idea of we can see a character growing up legitimately. Now that could be a good or bad thing. It could be slow pace and stuff, but we could see him grow up like a Harry Potter situation. The actors grow with it, and you gain an appreciation for it. So,
I can appreciate that, but would it be fair to say that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire didn't have an opportunity like that because of the shape of the MCU cinematic universe at the time? There's really no real MCU at the time for them to get on board with. For example, I'll raise you. I thought all the Spider-Man movies that were solo movies with Tom Holland were terrible in comparison to the Tobey Maguires, and I would even argue the Andrew Garfields. In comparison at the time, in comparison to Jesus Christ, I don't know what happened. I kind of lost reception. I'm sorry, but in comparison to Tobey Maguire and even Andrew Garfield to a certain extent. I personally do not blame that on Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is an amazing actor, and I think he is an amazing Spider-Man. The problem I have is with the script writing. I think the script writing is so concerned on trying to appeal to a certain audience, and I get it because people like myself, and I'm not sure about you guys, that we grew up with Tobey Maguire. We grew up with Andrew Garfield. We got 3 movies with Tobey Maguire. And I liken those characters more than I do. I can identify. I even appreciate them more. None of the characters, and at least in my opinion, just my humble opinion, none of the characters in the new Spider-Man movie are likable. I hate his fat best friend. I hate the choice for Mary Jane. I hate I hate the new Aunt May. She's got to be new hot. I hate it. I hate it all. Okay, I don't like it, and the reason I don't like it is because it's like, it reminds me of what they're trying to do to the Rugrats. When you think about the Rugrats,
the connection,
Tommy, Chucky, Bill, and Lil, and Susie, Angelica, it's the Rugrats, it's the Rugrat rap. You remember. Now, with that being said, when you see what they're trying to do now, where they got this new coat of paint on the Rugrats with a 3D, but it's like 3D rendering kind of thing, it looks honestly horrifying in my opinion, and I already know it's going to be disrespectful to its predecessor because some of the things that I'm hearing. Now, I'm not saying that the new Spider-Man is disrespectful to the old. None of the characters are likable to me. And again, it's not Tom Holland's fault. I think it's a phenomenal Spider-Man. And I think that what keeps, in my opinion, just for me, Spider-Man afloat is the MCU and the Avengers and the things that he has and the parts that he has in those films. Not necessarily his one-offs. But this new one coming out, I must admit, this new one coming out has me very excited. Go ahead, Alex.
Yes. Now, I'm going to say 2 things, right? I'm going to comment really, really quickly on the thing you were talking about Rugrats, right? One of the things, the reason why I give some remakes a lot of passes personally is because people act like the original, show and stuff like that is going to get the same eyes, or it's always showing type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like that. For example, let's not act like with the Rugrats, that they put that on Nickelodeon and it's the same exact amount of viewerships. The sad thing, well, it depends on the demographic. Completely depends. But at least for kids, it makes perfect sense because kids they might see something new. They want to see something new and shiny and all that. So I feel like there'll be more viewers that way, even if it's not as good as the original. And and that's the thing. There's like a critical point of view, and then there's the business side of things or whatever. The critical point, no, of course I don't want to see like remakes and stuff like that in that way or whatever. However, I would be only upset about remakes if the originals were shown off the way they were. For example, like if let's say the Matrix movies were shown off like in theaters again, all that, and a bunch of people went to watch it, that would be cool. But honestly, if I'm growing up, right, if I have my kid, if they want to see something new, for example, if they might not be as interested to see the old ones, or they might not feel as hyped, or their social group, their social friends might not be into it. So a new reboot brings in that socialness, brings in the younglings and all that.
How do you feel about these constant Halloween movies and the remakes of, Nightmare on Elm Street and all these horror ones that have like 30, 50 sequels to them?
All right, I'll be completely honest, right?
Keep it stacked.
Yeah, I would say because my personal favorite horror franchise of all time is Halloween.
Okay.
And I will say I personally don't. I love that they actually are kind of remaking it, remake sequel type thing.
But it's a follow up, correct?
Yeah, it's a follow up. Yeah.
It's a follow up to the first movie, which means Halloween's 2 through 8 are non-canon, right? And I like that because basically, the Hollywood of today cares more about consistency and canon stuff like that. The old Halloween movies, they didn't give a fuck. It's just the timeline is so dumb and everything. And Thomas, you can understand like X-Men wise and everything. Part of the thing I hate about the X-Men, even though tone wise, I love how serious it is, right? I like seriousness over the MCU, just fun and happy and all that. However, it does piss me off when there's consistencies that just piss me off when I know that the MCU and just would care about consistency. That does mean a lot to me. Like consistency, it makes me feel worthwhile actually watching all these movies and stuff instead of just making up BS.
Well, did you see what the CW did allegedly to the Pop-Up Girls? You got I think it was a Buttercup running around with a high top fade and a patch. You got Blossom going around giving people STD allegedly. Like it's a bunch of wild stuff that is going on, and that they're trying to appear to a new demographic. And and they're very promiscuous allegedly. They're getting their backs blown out like tires allegedly. And it's something that I find very, very peculiar because when you talk about they're trying to appeal to a new generation of people, it's almost like it's deviancy. Let me be as over the top and ridiculous as possible because that's what this culture likes. I understand the social media age. Everybody has every single social media platform is a dating platform. Every last one. I don't care if it's LinkedIn. Okay, people are out there in people's DMs on LinkedIn trying to bust it wide open. That's just the reality. And I understand that's the type of world that we live in. But I personally feel like it's disrespectful, takes away from the mystique of some of the older franchises that kind of brought some interesting things to the table when it came to just the wholesome flash that it had that a lot of these shows used to deliver. And then not to say that that there weren't spicy stuff in some of these old shows. For example, people remember the Pop-Up Girls, the cartoon. Remember him? Him was walking around with his ass out in high heel shoes. Okay, yeah. So it is what it is. But again, I think I understand that the world is changing, and maybe I'm just late getting on the bus. Maybe I'm just refusing to get on the bus. Maybe I don't want to, but I get the direction that things are going, and I guess maybe I'm actively fighting a losing battle. I feel as if that we're losing some of the things that made us great. The creativity is going, in my opinion. They want to make remakes and things like that and reboots because it's financially quote unquote safe. It's very expensive to take a chance on a new IP or a new franchise. So it can be very risky and things like that. And another thing that we're seeing is that people are losing like the star power that actors supposedly have. That mystique is, if you've noticed, is starting to dissolve. Nobody gives a shit if Brad Pitt's in a movie anymore. Nobody gives a shit if Will Smith's in a movie anymore. Okay, then it's not going to inflate. I mean, again, it's going to inflate your numbers over someone that quote unquote doesn't have that actor in it. But at the same time, they're not bringing in the overwhelming number of individuals that wouldn't typically go see one of those people's films. So that's just my thoughts on it, brother.
Yeah, I understand. And honestly, there's a lot I agree with. There are definitely some things where, like I will say, with the Powerpuff Girls, and obviously I have kept up with that news. That's a little over the top. I will say I think that's a little over the top. But then there's that argument of, would you if you have a property, would you now obviously I'm more than just these two options, but generally, would you rather try something new with this franchise and stuff, and it could be a hit or it could be a miss, or you just want it to just stay as it is on reruns, and then people eventually forget about it, and people just eventually don't watch it. And I think that's an interesting thought process that complicates the whole reboot and just adding, making new things and stuff. Like I would say with at least Halloween, right? I would say if they made a sequel to just all the Halloween movies after 8 and stuff, that would be dumb. So stupid. But that reboot type thing makes it better. But I will say we are in an interesting time, and Halloween is doing it a little differently. It's a reboot sequel thing. It gives respect to the old, right, while giving new and stuff like that. It's very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. So who knows what the real answer is?
Okay.
Anything.
Absolutely. 2 minutes, guys, from each of you, really quickly. We gotta go. 2 minutes, really quickly. What are your thoughts on the thought process that Hollywood potentially may be going in a direction to where they get rid of actors completely and everything's computer animated because it looks so real that you can't tell the difference? CGI. That way you don't have to worry about dealing with you don't have to worry about dealing with the divas on set. You don't got to worry about paying over exorbitant amounts of money to certain individuals. You only be paying the editors, et cetera, the artists to create those characters and put them in films. Even voice actors can be done away with, and from that capacity. What are your thoughts?
Wouldn't you need to pay them to use their likeness?
No. I mean, if you're going to, for example, yes. If you're going to use the likeness, yes, but you don't have to make it look like them. What I mean by that is completely getting rid of quote unquote A-list actors in general, and just creating your own actors. Now, again, the Hollywood mystique of being able to see your favorite actor do interviews, or even that can even be replicated now, but Hollywood actors on the street or something like that, interact with them, sign autographs, that will be gone. But that digital age, I think we're moving towards that direction. What are your thoughts?
Well, one thing I want to ask, this is under the assumption that the characters are computer animated, right? They're basically lifelike. Like you cannot tell the difference.
Tell the difference, yes.
See, if it's in a world like that, it would be interesting. I'm not gonna lie, there would be a lot of pushback on both sides, and I don't know. When we reach that point where you can't tell the difference, maybe we would see a time where actors go down, but voice actors become the new respected regime of Hollywood and stuff like that. Right now, voice actors are completely disrespected, in my personal opinion. But I would say the thing is, in terms of someone being a star, right? There is a chance you might lose that on the real life counterpart of it. There is a chance. However, they're gonna try to sign a big name voice actor wise that everyone's gonna know. Hollywood, at least in their head, still believes that star power does matter and stuff like that. They would rather go with a voice actor that are like, oh shit, if people don't, rather than it sounds really like it's the best pick. Just think about possibly the new Super Mario Brothers movie cast, if you guys heard about it or not. Definitely not the first game actors, I can tell you that.
Slightly. Go ahead, Sue.
I don't know. I mean, like Alex said, it does sound cool, be interesting, but then I'm a little biased because there's certain people I want to work with. I want to meet and be a little fangirl over there in the little corner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also don't want to put people out of a job either.
Yeah.
I'm just not that mean. It's a little bit mean.
Okay. All right, Alec, Diaz, thank you so much for coming up here and putting up with us tonight. I really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere. You were here with us, and I really appreciate it. We had one viewer, by the way, guys. I don't know who it was that didn't comment. It was some type of, anonymous mystery person. But whoever you are that came and gave us a bit of your time, just know that Thomas Curry appreciates it. I do. Thomas Curry appreciates it. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to have you back at some point, Alec. This was fun. This was entertaining. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it was a fun time. It felt like we were just chatting, basically.
Old times, baby. Old times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's indeed it. Y'all take care. Have a good night, okay?
All right, bye.
Salute, guys. Peace.